Do you agree with this book that is being taught with kids that babies are racist?
Senator, I do not believe that any child should be made to feel as though they are racist or though they are not valued or though they are less than, that they are victims, that they are oppressors. I don't believe in any of that.
Senator Ted Cruz from here in Houston, always doing the most. Now, she is on her way to becoming the first black woman on the U.S. Supreme Court. Day 2 of federal Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's Senate confirmation hearings brought up several questions. Tonight, a different take on the hearings. Students from South Texas College of Law in Houston weigh in on how the confirmation is going.
What I walked away from most of the Republicans and conservatives, they had grievances on how their candidates had been handled in the past. Nothing really solid that would draw attention to how she has ruled in the past other than sentencing. Your thoughts on that?
I agree completely. It felt like there were some, pretty blatant, I think, mischaracterizations of her record. That the Republicans or conservative senators were trying to hit on, but nothing from a substantive standpoint. She's had bipartisan support through 3 previous Senate confirmation hearings, and so she is a noted independent and neutral jurist, and she has the credentials and the history to show for that. But outside of how previous Supreme Court nominees have been handled or kind of attacked, that seemed to be their only talking points related to Judge Jackson.
Taylor, also what we heard from some members of Congress about her stance or lack of a strong stance on crime, and she talked about how in the past she's got a brother who was a member of law enforcement, uncle who was a member of law enforcement, at least 3 family members who were law enforcement officers, and she knows what it's like to worry about them not coming home because of violent criminals. Your thoughts on that, Taylor?
I agree with what she said. She has shown that she does have a background in understanding law enforcement and the special difficulties that they face. And they did have some questions about her sentencing, but overall, there was nothing that they could stand on in regards to that.
Moses, your takeaway of what you've seen so far?
My takeaway thus far is it doesn't surprise me with this particular Congress, and it doesn't surprise me with past Congresses, that it's sad that we can't get a genuine conversation around the issues that she's going to be facing, obviously, as a judge, and to get some good substantive information rather than the partisan attacks from quite frankly, from both sides. I mean, she's uniquely qualified, and her background will give her a very fresh and vibrant perspective on the nation's highest Supreme Court.
And Jayla, how important is the background that she has, from public defender to attorney to judge, federal jurist, and now potentially Supreme Court? How important is that well-rounded background that she has on both sides of the fence?
Yeah, I think that her experience brings a new, unique perspective because she has had the opportunity to be in the position from multiple different sides. So for other candidates who may have sat on the bench previously or currently sit on the bench, they may not have her same perspective to say that, well, I've sat on the side of being, the judge or the attorney, or stood on the side of being the public defender, and so on and so forth. So it allows her the opportunity to come in and say, from a bird's eye view, I want to say, hey, why don't we take a look at it from this perspective? Because I've stood in the shoes of X, Y, and Z person in this position. So I think that's something that's 100% necessary, especially in these types of positions, because you can kind of stand at the mountaintop sometimes when you're so far removed from being in those positions. And now she can kind of help ground some of those other people potentially on the bench to kind of help them see, hey, maybe we need to take another look at this from a different way.
Eric, from your perspective, has she been treated fairly by members of Congress during this process?
In my honest assessment, I don't think she's gotten 100%, I'll call it fair shake. And to Moses's point, it and even both sides, I think some of the talking points or the mischaracterizations of her record kind of diminish the qualifications that she actually has. And, so it is unfortunate that we haven't seen that substantive conversation. However, I will say that Judge Jackson has stood or sat stoically, has, persevered, and has been, very genuine, open, and candid in her responses, and has performed extremely well, as, everyone thought she would, and as she's doing now. So I've been incredibly impressed with how she's handled the situation.